again, guys. This is Module 5, Lesson 1. Our objective for this lesson is to find the area of rectangles with mixed by mixed and fraction by fraction side lengths by tiling, record by drawing, and relate to fraction multiplication. So very similar to what we did in the last lesson. We're going to zoom in here. And here are our first two problems. So, again, the directions say to draw a rectangle and you're tiling. So we're going to draw how we're tiling. We're going to use area equals length times width. Write the dimensions and the units you counted by in the blanks. Then use multiplication to confirm the area. So, let me zoom out. Our first rectangle is rather large. And there you have it. Again, we are tiling. So, just like it sounds, we are filling it with tiles to find the area. I am at 2, 3, 4, and if you notice, we have quite a big spot left here at the bottom. And if I stick my sticky note on there, when I fold it backwards in half, I can find that the length is 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. So the length of this rectangle is 4.5 units. And now I can do the width. I have one full sticky note at the top. I can put one full sticky note underneath, and I have another gap at the bottom, so I can stick my sticky note on there. And if I fold it over, I can see that my width is 1, 2.5. And I can continue tiling this entire rectangle the same way by filling it with sticky notes. But now we can see that our length is 4.5. and our width is 2.5. So for rectangle A, here we go, it says it is 4.5 units long and it is 2.5 units wide. So here we are going to draw our rectangle for A, and this is going to be 4 and 1/2. This is kind of going to be a dashed box over here. And down here, we're going to do 2.5 units. So we are multiplying using an area model, which is something we have learned before. We're going to go ahead and fill in our box 4 times 2. The first section of our area model, the 2 and the 4 are touching. So that's 4 times 2, which equals 8. The second box is 2 times 1/2, and that gives us an answer of 2 halves or 1 whole. The bottom is 4 times 1/2, and that gives us an improper fraction of 4 halves. And I can take 2 away from 4 2 whole times. And if you notice, there's a little tiny section left down at the bottom. Had I finished putting my sticky notes, we would have found here at the bottom that we had a half here, and we would have had a half of a half here. I have to fold it in half, and then I would have to fold it in half again. So a half times a half is equal to 1/4. So the next step is to put all of those fractions together. I'm sorry, the fractions and the whole numbers. So we have 8 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1/4. And these are all units squared. 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 2 is 11, and 1/4 units squared. So the area is 11 and 1/4 units squared for a rectangle A. Okay, this is rectangle B, and this one I have already done the tiling so that we can just look at the math. And the length for this one is 1, 2, 3 full units and 3/4 by 1 full unit and 3/4. So here we can fill that in. It's 3 3/4 units long by 1 3/4 units wide. Let me zoom in. We are going to draw that, and we're going to solve a little differently this time. Here is our small area model, and instead of solving within, we're going to solve outside of it this time. So we have 3 full units long and 3/4, and we have 1 full unit and 3/4 units wide. So this time, we're going to solve in each box separately, and we're going to do them step by step. So in the first box, I would be solving 3 times 1. Plus, in this box, I would be solving 1 times 3/4. In this box, I would be solving 3 times 3/4. And in the last box, I will be solving 3/4 times 3/4. Now we're going to just go through and solve each set of parentheses and add them together. I'll zoom in a little more for you. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 times 3/4 equals 3/4, plus 3 times 3/4 equals 9/4, plus 3/4 times 3/4 is equal to 9/16. The next thing we're going to do is add our fractions with common denominators. So we have 3 plus 3/4 plus 9/4 is equal to 12/4. And I know that 12/4 is equal to 3 wholes. Plus 9/16. So now I have 3 plus 3, which gives me 6, and 9/16 units squared. So the area, which is length times width, for the rectangle B is 6 and 9/16. Okay, moving on to rectangle C. Let me zoom out. Here is rectangle C. It's very long and thin, and if you look, I've already tiled the backside. Our length is 1, 2.5 units. And if I turn it sideways, our width is only 3/4 of a sticky note. So the length is 2.5 by, and our width is 3/4 units. Let me zoom back in. And we're going to do this very similar to the last one. I'm going to draw my skinny rectangle. And we're going to label this is 2.5. And this, I'm going to put a dashed line because we don't even have a full sticky note for our width. It is only 3/4. So in order to solve this, we're going to again multiply each section of our area model. In the first section, I have 2 times 3/4 plus the second section is going to be 3/4 times 1/2. Let's go ahead and solve our parentheses. 2 times 3 is 6/4 plus 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. So we have 6/8. But in order to add these, I have to have a common denominator. So right here, I am going to change 6/4 into 8ths. And in order to do that, I need to multiply my bottom number times 2, my denominator, and whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 6 times 2 gives me 12. 4 times 2 gives me 8. And then I can go ahead and bring down my 3/8. So I have 12/8 plus 3/8. That is equal to 15/8. And because that is an improper fraction, I'm going to go ahead and write my OR. And I can take 8 away from 15 one time, and that leaves 7/8. So down below where it says area equals, my area for rectangle C is 1 7/8 units squared. And lastly, we have rectangle D, which is this tiny little rectangle. And if I flip it over, I have already tiled. My length is 3/4 of the sticky note. I had to fold it in. And my width is 1/2 of the sticky note. I had to fold it in the other way. So we're going to go ahead and draw that. And I'm going to show that this is 3/4 and this is 1/2. So here is 3/4. Here is 1/2. Let me zoom in so you can see those dashed lines, just to show that it's not even a full sticky note. And underneath, we've multiplied where the boxes with the numbers that are touching in our area model. That's going to be 1/2 times 3/4. It's 3/4 units long times 1/2 units wide. 1 times 3 is equal to 3. 2 times 4 is equal to 8. So the area of this little tiny rectangle D is 3/8 units squared. Don't forget to do your exit tickets.